Hello and welcome to this video with me, Coach Reese. I hope you're all having an amazing day. So in this video we're going to talk about how we can beat a defending team's low block. As always, I will leave timestamps and chapters below. Let's get started. A defending team's low block is their deepest defensive structure, and it's designed to be compact, difficult to penetrate, and it's there to protect the goal. So from an attacking point of view, we need to be looking to destabilize and disrupt the low block so that we can create opportunities to penetrate and hopefully move into positions where we can score goals. We're going to use the 4-4-2 low block as our example today, and this is the most common low block shape that we'll find if teams are using formations that have 4 at the back. So 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, those kind of things. You might see different kinds of structures depending on the team's starting formation, so it might look slightly different if the team are using a formation that has 3 at the back, but the concepts that we'll talk about in today's video are going to be the same. In order to start to begin to destabilize and disrupt the low block, the first thing that we can think about is the distribution of players, and this is both horizontally and vertically. If we position players across all 5 of the vertical zones, so a common shape that we see teams move into who are up against a low block is either a 2-3-5 or a 3-2-5, and with the 5 players positioned in each of the 5 vertical zones, we create a cross-field numerical advantage of a 5v4. And this can begin to start to destabilize and disrupt because the 4 defending players are now in a position where, for example, a fullback might be caught between defending against the player in the wide zone or defending against the player in the half space. This is the same for the centre back, so they may be forced to defend the player in the half space or defend against the striker. And just with these little indecisions due to our distribution of players, spaces start to open up. And continue to build on from this, because we've been able to distribute our players in such a way, we can now isolate and potentially target players within the defending low block. So for example, a common area that's targeted is the opposition's fullback. Because we have 2 players in this area, we can now create this 2v1 situation that we can use for our advantage to hopefully penetrate the low block. As we continue to search for opportunities to destabilize and disrupt the defending team's low block, we can use something called dual width, which is quite simply to put 2 players in the wide zone. So by positioning 2 players in the wide zones, this might force 1 or 2 players within the defending team's low block to look to engage. So once they look to engage, they might open up space behind them, which is in the half space, that we might look to exploit. This could be a result of the 2 players engaging and the remainder of the block not quite moving across, which again can just give us that little bit of space, a little bit of extra space within the block to look to exploit. In our first couple of examples, we've only really focused on moving 1 or 2 players within the block. But a really effective way to destabilize and disrupt a low block is to try and move the entire block. And this is done by switching the play. So for example, a team in possession might choose to play short passes on a particular side. So for our example, we'll use the left side. By playing short passes in this area, defending players have a tendency to be drawn to that area. And if we think back to having 5 players across all 5 vertical zones, if we maintain that, there's going to be an opportunity to switch the play into our right winger on the other side, who's going to be in a lot of space. And should we be able to effectively switch the play, our right winger can find themselves in a 1v1. A really important thing when switching the play in this situation is it's really important that the switch is controlled. It doesn't need to necessarily be forced, so it might not necessarily be something that goes from player A to player B. It might go through a pivot, for example. so that the switch is effective and we can maximise the space that our right winger will find themselves in. Another advantage with switching the play is as the ball moves from our left to our right, defending players within the low block might not necessarily move at the same speed. And this might open up spaces that we can exploit maybe in the centre or in the half spaces. And this is the advantage of using a controlled switch, because we can recognise those moments as the ball transfers from left to right. If you go direct from player A to player B, we don't necessarily have that opportunity. But if we go through a pivot, for example, they might be able to recognise that actually a player in the half space is now the best pass, and they can use that, penetrate the line, and we get a player into a dangerous area. There are other options that we can use to beat a low block, but they might be less successful. So for example, we might shoot from range, or try and play more complex passes over a low block, and potentially we might just use set pieces. Although these can be effective, they do have the potential to be slightly less successful. So that's taking a look at how we can beat a low block. As always, if you did find the video useful, I do have a Ko-fi page if you'd like to support myself on the channel, along with a match analysis template that's now available on my Gumroad page. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. I've been Coach Reese. Have a fantastic day.